This episode of the Stockbury Dark is brought to you by Shop Shogun. Shop Shogun is your one-stop shop for the latest and greatest in punk, hardcore, and heavy metal merchandise. Officially licensed web stores from bands such as 100 Demons, Integrity, Disembodied, Madball, Agnostic Front, and many more. The Stockbury Dark, along with Shop Shogun, are offering a special code to discount your next order when you use it on their website. Use the promo code SDPODCAST to save 10% from your next order from Shop Shogun. Again, the code is SDPODCAST. Their website is shopshogun.com. Also, check out their page, Shop Shogun, on Facebook and at Shop Shogun Merch on Instagram. Hello and welcome to the Stockbury Dark. My name is Peter Morrissey.
My name is Claude.
And today we have Darren Brass, Darren Pulaski, a.k.a. Gumby, one of my best friends from Waterbury, Connecticut, that moved down to Miami years ago, started on the TV show Miami Inc. You might have heard his name. Really psyched to have you here today, Darren. What's up, my friend?
Hey there, guys. How's it going? Hey, it's good to be here.
Yeah?
Nice to have you on. Welcome.
We, from the get-go, Darren and I have been friends for, I don't know how many years now, probably close to 30 years, right?
Yeah, probably, yeah, 30 years, definitely. At least that.
You were the co-best man in my wedding with Sean Martin, and, even though we're miles apart, we're still close as hell. We talk all the time, and when we started the podcast, you were actually one of the guys I had in mind since we started, because
absolutely.
And Darren, Darren, that means that you've known for 30 years that Pete's into this weird shit.
Well, yeah, Pete and I, over the years have delved into these areas, and this isn't the first time, and I'm not surprised at all this is happening. Pete has helped me over the years, and we've definitely had this conversation before. So I'm really happy to be able to be here now and share it and be a part of what's going on with the Stockbury. I'm really into it.
Yeah, there's we've had times, I know I spoke to you about my sleep paralysis and had some weird experiences, and I always one memory that always stuck in my mind just to get started was when, a few years into our friendship, you brought up this story from when you were a kid about a woman that you would always see in the house, and that you'd never, you would have conversations with her, and it creeped me out. The story always stuck with me.
And it's funny, even you mentioning it to me now, I get goosebumps on my arm still talking about it. And even, I've found, a comfortable place with it, because I guess as we talk, I'll explain where it started and where it's brought me, and kind of the realization that I had with this, which is so fucking weird, but amazing at the same time.
I can't wait to hear more about it, because, we touched briefly on it so many years ago, and then the other day we actually talked about it again. And, just the whole thing is great. And then we're going to delve into your time in New York City, and I remember when all this stuff was going on, you had some supernatural kind of things happening in your apartment.
Yeah, some crazy shit.
And then we talked about the house in Miami, which was kind of new to me, the stories about things that happened there. So I think we got some good stuff that we're going to hit on today on the Stockbury Dark. And, anytime you just want to take over and start from young baby Darren, we can get right into it.
Yeah. Let's go into it. I mean, all of this and everything that we're going to talk about have been like, again, pretty profound moments in my life, and kind of ironic, I guess, in that sense. But yeah, it all started, as a kid. Keep in mind, let's start from the beginning. Me to lay it out. I grew up in my great grandmother's house that my great grandfather had built.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Not only that house, but the surrounding 6 houses around me. That one was my grandparents' house. The other 4, 5 were summer cottages. Mm-hmm. So this whole area that I grew up in was something that my great grandfather had built.
Darren, what town was that in?
That was in Wolcott, Connecticut.
Yep. So that was by the lake in Wolcott?
By Hitchcock. All of these homes, including mine, were on Hitchcock Lake.
Yep.
So, way back to when I can remember, I grew up in and again, my house was a very old, small house. The front yard was a lake. The backyard was a forest. Mm-hmm. So we're in somewhat of a pinnacle area in that respect. And, again, I grew up with my great grandmother. She passed away when I was in kindergarten. So I guess all of this started, again, when I look back, I didn't realize when it started. I didn't realize what was going on as a kid. I just knew that every time that my mother wasn't around, but would, hey, Darren, you know what? Why don't you go grab me something in my bedroom? I would cringe because I would go into my mother's room, her bedroom, and I knew that what I would always call at the time, or think back, what I thought was a witch would appear and start talking to me.
In the bedroom.
In the bedroom. And I, again, growing up, it was all part of an odd sort of thing. Like me growing up, it was always, I would have nightmares every night. Mm-hmm. I would wake up out of my sleep, jump up in the middle of the night, these crazy nightmares. Always something happened in a house. It was a 2-story house, and I'd kind of be taken out of my bed, brought down the stairs, and I grew up with this old furnace in my house. It was like a grate in the floor that would heat the house, and I guess that was common for older homes. But man, I'll tell you, I never in those dreams would make it past that furnace. I would always wake up.
How old were you at that time?
Those dreams, I mean, again, had to be from as far back as I can remember as a child, which I guess added to it all. And again, I still don't exactly understand what those dreams were or what they were brought about from, or what force that was like carrying me down my stairs. But again, throughout all that, in my waking hours, this woman would appear to me and talk to me.
Wow. And there was often like reoccurring. It was the same scenario happening over and over again for years.
Over and over again. Wow. It was the same woman appeared to me in the bedroom. And again, that woman I would always refer to as a witch because it was just a very plain woman in a long black dress, dark hair pulled back, and I guess at that point that was a witch to me. It's
like old ladies they're all witches to little boys.
Yeah, well, a woman in a long black dress, that was to me, I in my head that was a witch. But the oddest part of the story, and not to cut it off in any way, but to kind of sum it up, I'm in 8th grade, and my mother's going through all of these old pictures of her family. And when she brought one of the pictures, now again, at that point, I hadn't seen that woman in my mother's room. That, stopped years before. I don't remember when it started or when it stopped. It was something I'll never forget. It was something that had always stood out. And, the dreams, again, that went along with all that were still consistent. But my mother's showing me these pictures, going through them. Oh, this was your aunt. This was your great grandmother. And literally, the picture I saw of my great grandmother, how I had never seen him before, because I had just seen my great grandmother as an 80, 90-year-old woman, who would read to me every night. We were extremely close. She would read to me every day, read to me every night. Again, I had grown up in her house, in her home. But this picture was something in a way that I had never seen her. But I realized at that point in 8th grade, that was the woman who would come to me every day in my mother's room. It was just a likeness of her that I had never known. But it literally brought me back to a moment when I was, let's say, in 3rd grade. My mother had put me to bed in her room, because my brother and I shared a room. And like I said, I had gotten in trouble. I had done something wrong. So my mother's like, you go to bed right now. You go in my room. You're not allowed to be around anybody. And I was crying hysterically, because 1, I was in trouble. 2, oh my God, I had to go into my mother's room. That woman was going to be there. But let me tell you, at this point, I remembered it as clear as day, like going back in a movie where they have a flashback of this woman talking to me. And I remembered her, all she was doing was trying to comfort me. It's okay. It's all right. Why are you crying? And boom, I'm back looking at the picture. 8th grade Darren.
That is wild.
Fucking crazy.
So were those the only words that were ever spoken, or did she ever speak all the other times you had seen her in the room?
She had always tried speaking to me, but I never remembered anything she said to me.
Until that day?
Till that day.
Yeah.
Because I was so scared. Right. Here it was, a woman that I didn't know, trying to speak to me.
Yeah.
But like I said, when I saw that picture and it was clear as day, that was a woman. Like I said, for some reason or another, it brought me back to that moment in my mother's room in the 3rd grade, and it was clear as day. And everything she was saying to me was as if it was somebody was showing me a movie in front of my face.
Yeah. So then it must have all just clicked at that later time in 8th grade when you realized it was your great grandmother.
I realized at that point, like, oh my God, crazy. This was Nan the whole time. Because again, at that point I could think back, more clearly thinking in 8th grade, like, wow, she was just with me. Obviously she wasn't ready to leave my side. She just wanted to look out for me. She wanted to be there for me. She wanted to help me.
It's beautiful, but it's still like a big thing to process for
huge.
A kid who's in 8th grade.
Or anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in 8th grade, like, I'm just thinking back, like, whoa, and, I've thought about it more over the years. And again, sitting with, and talking with Pete about the, these things for years now, it just became more evident at me, like, wow, she wasn't ready to leave. This was her place. I was, and obviously it was her place. It's the home that my great grandfather built for her.
Yeah.
And 2, keeping in mind the closeness that her and I had throughout my life at that point, from a newborn baby up until when she passed, in kindergarten, I pretty much had spent every day with her. So I guess, again, she just wasn't ready to leave or leave me for that matter.
So when you saw the picture, did you say something to your mother immediately?
If that part, yeah, I think I had. But again, I didn't share too much of this with anybody in my house because I was the only one in my house that had seen her. I spoke to my brother, who was 4 years older than me years afterwards, like, hey, did this ever happen to you? Did you ever see, this woman, and nobody else had. It was just she revealed herself to me.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess I was, and again, reading about it, for years afterwards, I guess I was just more open to it. Being
Mm-hmm.
younger, you're open to it, and there she was, presented herself to me.
Strangely, with doing the show, this has like been the experience with most of the people we have had on. Like, you would think that the first thing a kid or teenager would do would be running to a family member or friends, etc., and tell them all about it. But Pete, I think most of the people we've had on were like, they kept it to themselves for years and years.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because you don't know what it is at that point, especially when you're young. Me as a child, like, I don't know what the fuck this is. Like,
you don't know what's real and what's not, and if it's just a normal thing, so you don't know if you need to talk about it or
right. Yeah,
anyone.
Yeah, and then sharing, nobody else was talking about it in my house. Nobody else talked about this woman in my house. My parents were obviously felt safe in their room.
Yeah.
Did it
stop abruptly soon after, or?
I don't really, and again, I've often, like, I don't remember when I first started, seeing her, or when it stopped either. I don't really remember. It just kind of, I guess, just as it faded in, it faded out. It was intro, outro. Here I am, and now I'm gone.
Yeah, which I think is usually the case when with a lot of young children and kids, when they have these kinds of experiences. And people always say they're more open at that age and susceptible to some types of paranormal activity or familial ghosts that are around, and when that age is there for them and they're open for it. But
right,
it's kind of as they grow older, and I'm not saying more jaded, those kinds of things just slowly stop or stop abruptly, and which might be the case for you.
And it stopped abruptly, but later on in my life, I've had quite a few experiences that, Pete, I've talked to you about.
Yeah.
Because they have been profound experiences. And I don't know if maybe because when I was younger, I was open to that, to the paranormal. But there's been time after time. I can remember. Again, where I called you, and was like, oh my God, I was in my bed at my apartment, and, it was an older building in the Lower East Side of New York. And, all of a sudden here I am, I'm going to bed, I'm chilling out, and I just, get this really weird feeling about me, like, felt really uncomfortable. I go to get up from my bed and I can't move. Like, I am stuck. I'm being held down. There was a pressure on my chest like I had never felt before. And boom, I popped up, and, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was an alien abduction or, like, what had happened. But I just popped up and, like, oh my God, I can breathe again. Like, all right, there I am. Like, whoa, what's going on? And that's the first time, Pete, I think that you can remember, I called you and I'm like, dude, what was this?
Yeah.
And you at that point explained to me, like, it's sleep paralysis. You just experienced sleep paralysis. And it's funny because you had told me at that point, like, listen, man, if this happens again, just, inside your head, like, no, you're stronger. You're here. You're amongst the living. You're stronger than this, So I would just, and it happened to me again several times after that. And it was always just me, like, cursing my head, like, I'm stronger than you, I'm stronger than you, get away from me, bam, and I would pop up. And that feeling was gone, and that pressure wasn't there anymore. But, New York, in New York, beyond that happening to me, I get a call from my roommate one day, and he's like, dude, that wasn't funny. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, come on, when did you get home? You were home earlier today? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? I haven't been home all day. What do you mean? Yeah, haha, funny. I'm like, dude, honestly, I hadn't been home all day. I guess whatever presence that was in the house had pushed the refrigerator door up against the bathroom door to the point where you couldn't hardly open up the bathroom door.
Yeah.
And now you remember the bathroom next to the kitchens in a lot of the old, New York apartments. That's pretty common. So it was, again, the refrigerator wasn't that far. It's not like it moved all the way across the room, but enough to the point where he couldn't get that bad. He had to push it out of the way of the door.
Yeah.
And thought I was messing with him. But again, I wasn't home. I was in Long Island.
Yeah, that's insane.
It was insane. And again, here it was, not just me being affected by this.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another kind of pretty profound, moment.
Do you remember before you moved to New York, when everyone was living in that mansion in Waterbury with all the apartments in it? Were there stories there? For some reason, I have a vague recollection of something happening there. This was a house in Waterbury, Klaus. It used to be a massive mansion, and they turned it into these separate apartments. And
cool.
My girlfriend at the time lived there. Darren and his girlfriend lived there. Sean lived there, and like 3 other friends had apartments in there. So there was like 6 friends and couples that lived in this one building. It was a massive old place, and I don't personally recall anything there, but for some reason I swear we had some story of some strange happenings. Which
there were stories about the place. I guess an old jazz musician or a famous jazz musician from Waterbury had died or was murdered in the building. I forget what the story was, but I know there was something. But again, I never experienced anything odd in that building.
Mm-hmm.
Or never, had any odd feelings. Like I think I've been pretty open to things, and it's but in that building, no, it was quite a building though, quite a house, quite a home.
Yeah.
It was, and I guess there were some stories, but nothing that had affected me or I guess you at that point either.
So in between those times, like from when you were a kid until you moved to New York, nothing else really was going on.
No, nothing had really happened. Nothing really went on that was, so profound. The New York incidents were quite profound.
Mm-hmm.
But it's odd in these instances, and maybe I've just, come accustomed to it, but, it's kind of like you can feel the good from the bad.
Yeah.
In a sense, like I didn't get a bad feeling. I got a really bad feeling once in Waterbury again. Living in an apartment where like it dropped probably about 20 degrees in that apartment within 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Like literally to where I was seeing my breath in the apartment and
wow.
literally ran out.
Which place was that?
That was a girlfriend's apartment. And it was a new development. It wasn't in an old home. It wasn't in an old house.
Yeah.
But man, there was something there, and it was obviously pretty pissed.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it was a neighbor's father had died, and from what I understand, she didn't get along well with the neighbors or the person in that apartment at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But man, they definitely made themselves be known.
Yeah.
It was, there were things happening in the restaurant, like, the TV would turn on and off. And I used to always just attribute it to, these cookie cutter apartments, man, they really built this, like shit. Look at this plug doesn't work now. And, oh, there it goes. It's working now.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, I'll tell you, that night when we came home and it just like, oof, you felt it. Like it was
heavy.
It was heavy. I mean, to the point where literally the temperature in that room dropped 20 degrees. It was wintertime, and we walked into a beautifully heated, comfortable, cozy apartment. And next thing you know, it just got colder and colder and colder to the point where I saw my breath, and I'm like, I don't feel good. I don't feel right. I'm like, I don't think. And my girlfriend at the time, she was just like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I've never felt anything like this in my life.
Yeah.
We need to get out of here. Like that was the only sense I had. And again, I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, we need to get out of here now. And I literally left the apartment. And I realized I left wearing my socks. It was like 3 a.m. I'm like, what do we do? And in that point, as I'm driving away, as I'm driving, I was driving to my parents' house or something. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, this is our home. And again, I remember talking to you, Pete, just going, and you tell me, just remember, you're stronger. You're stronger than that entity. Whatever's there, whatever spirit it is, you're stronger. You're here. You're living, and just remember that. And there I go, chest out, walk back in that apartment. Like, this is my apartment. This is where I live. I'm stronger than you. Fuck you. Get out of my fucking space. And I was fine. Never had an issue. Never had an issue after that.
Yeah.
But woo, let me tell you, that was heavy.
A lot of bad mojo in the Waterbury area.
Whoa, I guess so. Man, it was definitely bad mojo in that apartment. I mean, I understand. I had my bad mojo with that woman years afterwards as well. But yeah, wow. But that was quick. But then there, and I don't want to keep jumping from subject to subject. If you guys have anything to say or want to say anything, but we had a group of us had some pretty profound experiences at a house in Miami. Mm-hmm. And that was, that experience was just from one to the other to the next, and it was a big old 5-bedroom house here in Miami. Yeah. That a bunch of us lived at. We all worked together. It was a bunch of artists from the shop. We were all living there, and it was just one sort of time. Like, dude, you open my door last night? Do you think that was funny? Opening my door, like, man, I was, what were you thinking? Like, what are you talking about? I didn't open up your door. Like, dude, do you knock those things off my shelf again in my room? Again, what are you talking about? I didn't knock it. I wasn't in your room. I didn't even go in your room. To the point where, like, one of the guys, Chano, things are getting knocked off of his shelf on the daily, that he locked his door, got a lock for his door, because he was sick of everybody messing with him or with the things in his room, knocking things off his shelf, taking things out of his room. And we're like, man, we don't have time for that. Like, we're not messing with you, bro. Like, we didn't knock anything off your shelf.
So the other guys, John lived at that house?
Oh yeah. Chano lived there.
So was this pre-show or during?
This was during the filming of the show. Yeah. We all pre or post, I forget what it was. It was that the whole timeline was insane. But it was five artists living in a house, all of us doing our thing, busy as hell. But then just weird shit kept happening. Like Jimmy comes home one night, one of the guys, and he was, out of any of us, he was the skeptic. He was like, you guys are crazy. Shut up. Whatever. The door's open. It's an old house. Doors open and close, whatever. Yeah. The latch came undone. Mind you, the door was pretty much locked and was opening and closing regularly. It's like, you can talk about drafts or anything like that, but it was it was a big old door. Like, I don't think anything can open it or close it unless somebody moves turning the handle. Mm-hmm. So there was doors open and closing, and then the odd thing about, and I speak of Chano's room again, because between Chano's room and mine, I had a separate apartment from the house, but it was connected by a wall. Where that wall used to be a walkway, a walk-through in the house. Funny thing, that's where things kept falling off of Chano's shelf, and that's where I would always kind of see this shadow kind of moving back and forth in the hallway there. And again, I just said to myself, it's the trees moving outside, the palm trees. I'm freaking myself out. I don't feel anything. I'm good. I'm comfortable in this room. I'm not feeling nothing. Whether, like New York, I would feel a little something. And, Connecticut, I felt a little something. But, I didn't feel much. I didn't feel uncomfortable. Where to the point one night, I'm sleeping in my bed. Well, not quite sleeping yet. I'm just chilling out. I'm relaxing. I got my dog on the bed with me, little Choochie boy. And man, I think, whoa, that's a big truck coming by the house. Mm-hmm. I felt like my bed was like vibrating. Then I'm like, man, that's got to be in my backyard, because the bed's really like vibrating now. Like, oh, why are the covers like rustling? Like, I need to get up. Holy shit, I can't get up. Like, I couldn't move, and my bed is shaking. The blankets are rustling like someone is like on the other end, just, putting the bed together. And man, I can't move, and shit is moving like there could have been an earthquake outside.
Did the dog react to it?
The dog didn't. I mean, he was kind of older at the time. He didn't react much to it. He was, just a little like bark next to, like he was next to me, and all of a sudden I just popped up again. One of those things like fuck this, fuck you, I'm stronger, fuck you. Pop up, and everything was okay. Nothing was moving. Nothing was shaking. The dog was cool. But about 2 weeks later, I had a guest at the house, and they wake up in the morning, and she's just looking at me, and she's going, I just saw something. And I'm like, she's like, I just saw a little girl at the end of the bed, like looking at me. Like I just woke up, and I was like, yeah, kind of long hair. She's like, yeah, long hair, like a little girl, long hair. I'm like, yeah, we got some weird things happening in the house here. But,
So was that something you've seen before, or the other people in the house?
Well, I had seen, what, like I said, I would see that shadow kind of going back and forth, and it kind of seemed like, a smaller girl with long hair, but again, I was just like, oh, you're freaking yourself out, bro. Like, just go to bed, And, but yeah, she woke up straight to like a little girl, like looking right at her.
Mm.
And funny thing, I mentioned Jimmy. Jimmy came home one night, and every single light was on in the house.
Yeah.
Now, and again, we left during the day. There was no lights on, nothing. Everything come. So Jimmy, after that, his experience with coming home to every light being on in the house, freaking out, and hearing all of us talk about the doors opening and closing, my bed, shaking and rustling, my girlfriend at the time waking up to like a little girl looking at her, started just randomly taking pictures around the house.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get one of these, he gets a roll of film back, and man, I swear on one of the pictures, there was like an older guy with a beard and a little girl with long hair.
Really?
Like profoundly. And I've recently asked Jimmy if he could find those pictures, because it was, there it was, like he captured something, and we had all seen and obviously felt something and been disrupted by something.
Mm-hmm.
I have things in that house that there were things that would just disappear. Like they were just gone. You'd buy something and they were gone. So it was and funny thing about that house, we were just looking, Jimmy looks all the time on real estate, this and that, looking at houses in the area. That house has had about, 6 different owners in the last 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and the house has been revamped, done over, they've done modifications in the house. And I heard for years, if you change a room or you take a wall out or take a wall down, then it releases whatever presence in the house. Obviously not in this house, because it's been redone, revamped. And like I said, 6 owners in the past 8 years, it's kind of odd.
Yeah, it certainly is. Was Jimmy ever able to find that picture?
He hasn't found it yet. He hasn't found it. But I got him looking for it. Mm-hmm.
Who else was living at the house at that time?
Let's see, it was our boy. It was Lee that had worked with us, Mikey, Chano for a while, myself, Jimmy and Barbara. There was a number of people coming in and out of the house. Even when I had left out, there was still a couple other people in there. But everybody that had been in that house had an experience in that house.
Everyone had their own story. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the, like I said, even the non-believers could not even dispute it anymore.
Mm-hmm. And then, how long did you stay in there after this?
In that house, I was there for just about a year before I had moved out. But again, come again.
Did anyone else remain there after you moved out?
Oh yeah. They still lived there, did their thing, and just dealt with the experiences, and like I said before, like like, you know, you feel like a bad energy. Like, man, even after my bed was like, you know, nearly rocking off the floor, you know, covers being rustled like there was a hurricane going through my room. I didn't necessarily get a bad feeling. You know, is that odd? I don't know if people have talked about that before. Yeah. Like, you know, whether it was a good feeling, bad feeling, or just like, you know, you knew there was a presence there beyond yours.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get a bad feeling there.
Oh.
is you know, is that odd, or is, you know, people talked about like good or bad feelings? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just up to the person. You know, a lot of people do mention things where they said that, you know, they weren't afraid and they would feel a certain way, but you know, sometimes it would be this dark heaviness where knew they wouldn't even enter a room and they would turn around and just exit because something primal inside of them said no. There's no way.
Get out of there.
I could want to even experience what comes next. You know, yeah. So we've heard from both ends of the spectrum. You know, of
I mean, there are so many answers to that as there are stars. It's super individual.
Right. I mean, like I said, that one house in Waterbury, when the temperature dropped 20 degrees, like, talk about instinct, like, yeah, get out. You know, like,
yeah,
you know, like, I knew I had to go. You know, but again, like, once I showed, like, no, I'm stronger than this, you know, then I didn't have a bad feeling or, you know, any sort of bad experiences after that, you know. But it was, you know, I guess feeling confident, feeling stronger than. But but again, the house in Miami is profound as the experiences were. Again, I didn't get that dark, heavy, bad feeling. It was just something was there.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I didn't necessarily get a bad feeling as far as fear, the heaviness. It was just, you know, you're a kid and you're scared because there's a woman appearing and talking to you every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that's what it was. And you know, in Woket, it was every day. That woman would appear and just start talking to me. It was crazy.
Yeah. I love that story, you know, with the great grandmother. It's just I don't know, there's just something so not even scary, but just such an eerie feel to it, knowing that someone was there daily, going back to that.
And you know, at the same time, though, it's always given me this feeling like, you know, when someone say, oh, you know, I really got an angel looking out for me. It's, you know, for years now, I always say to myself, like, fuck, I should have been dead. You know, after that, what I just went through, I should have been dead. Yeah. You know, but, you know, it's obviously there's I've had someone looking out for me. Mm-hmm. You know, and that experience, it was totally a good thing. Yeah. You know, and as I realized, like, later on with that, like, profound flashback, and I keep using the word profound because, like, man, these experiences have just been so, you know, like, real and so heavy and not heavy necessarily, again, like I said, in a bad way with this in particular, but just wow. Like, I don't, you know, not many people you talk to that have had these experiences are you know, just been affected so much by it.
Oh, and what I also love with your story is that, and that's not putting anyone else down, absolutely not, but the way you're describing it, it's not like it's not feeling a presence or something or maybe, but your experience growing up, it's pretty physical.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was it was you know, nothing that I could ever deny. Like, there was someone there, you know. It was she would just appear to me every single day. I get it now. Like, it was Nan. It was my great grandmother. You know, it was, you know, she was there every day for me when she was alive. So I guess when she passed, why not? You know?
Exactly.
Why not stick around and still be there for me? You know, I guess she wasn't ready to let go. You know, I guess a beautiful feeling at this point, you know, like, wow, you know, it makes me feel really good, you know, but as long as she can rest easy.
Yeah. After you left the house in Miami, any other types of things go on, or what's that kind of the end of it all?
You know, I've had my experiences in different places, whether it be hotel or you know, I've traveled quite a bit over the years. from different countries. I've definitely felt different things. I've had sleep paralysis in different places.
Yeah.
Whether I've gotten used to it at this point or just confident again, and I'll go back to speaking to you. You just tell me, man, just remember you're stronger than that. Like you're here, you're part of what's on this earth and living, and, and reading different accounts from other people. Like, I've had different experiences in different places, but, never one that's held me back or really frightened me to the point where I felt as though I had to leave, or, that I shouldn't be there. But always from these experiences on, like, trust my gut in a sense, like you talked about, like that primal feeling of like, I gotta go or, like I'm okay. It's just, you kind of go with it, like, maybe I shouldn't walk down that street right now, or maybe I don't need to go back to that house or something, it's just like, I'm cool,
Mm-hmm.
But those experiences definitely have stayed relevant in my life.
Mm-hmm. So once the show ended, Miami Inc., you've been up to a ton of other things. What are some new things that have been going on with you and your work?
There's been a lot of things going on. I always kind of got something going on, or something in the works. Just for the most part, just tattooing. I'm a tattoo artist, and that's what I do. And I'm still here in Miami trying to make it work. Traveling up to New York and to 5 Points. Traveling to good old Brass City Tattoo.
Yep.
To do my thing there. That's the main thing. I've been trying to start different, with my clothing line, Brassed Off, brassedoff.co. Check it out.
Definitely.
That's it. Just working, living, and trying to do my due.
Yeah, I mean, your art has grown so much, especially in the last 10 years with, all the extra stuff you've been doing outside of tattooing, with your design work, and it's just, it's perfected, I feel, even though you probably don't think you're always growing and learning, but I mean, the prints you've made and the artwork for the clothing line and your tattooing in general is like impeccable. It's so solid.
Thank you. I think everything lends, one thing lends to the other. It's like, it seems the more design work that I'm doing, working on Photoshop and Illustrator, just lends to the work that I'm doing with tattooing. And all the guys at the shop have been like, they notice it, like, man, that looks more like your digital work.
Mm-hmm.
And which I guess, it just gets cleaner and cleaner, more solid.
Positive snowball effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
With your art, has there ever been anything like something that passed the threshold with any sort of like darkness to it that really maybe even like kind of creeped you out with a piece you had to do that you almost didn't want to do, or I don't know the point I'm trying to make.
Pete, I was just about to ask the exact same thing.
I think not so much the artwork, but more the people. Like, man, I don't want to work on that guy.
Well, that was the next thing. I was saying that from the thousands of people you've tattooed, you had to have come across some people that maybe even gave you some warning signs where you're like, I don't even want to.
Yeah, I don't even want to work on that dude. I don't even want to talk to that dude again, and I'm just gonna cut this off right here. Oh yeah, some people, they come with bad energy. They come with a bad vibe. They could have the coolest design in the world, or really want to work with you, or throw a ton of money at you, but man, you just know, and maybe it's years of experience with dealing with human beings. Like, man, they're just not a good person. I just I don't want to spend any time with them. Like, they're just not cool. This isn't going to work out. Like, I've told people, like, it's obvious I'm just not your guy.
Yeah.
No matter what you want to do. And yeah, maybe you really want to get tattooed by me, but this just isn't my thing. And I just don't think we're vibing. And it's funny, you don't want to sound like that, like we're not vibing together, but quite honestly, sometimes, man, it's just not there. Or I just don't get a good feeling from you, bro. So this isn't gonna work. You know?
I mean, it also becomes extra special with tattooing because no matter how you look at it, and no matter how many clients you have per week or per day, it's still like an intimate thing to put a needle through someone else's skin. And if you have the vibe that the person is a fucking demon, then it creates a weird situation.
Dude, without a doubt, and you know, and there are some just nasty fucking people in this world, and you know, I would just say, human beings are just shitty animals, you know. So it's, you know, so like some, I just don't want to fuck with whatsoever, you know. I don't want to be around them. I don't need their energy, and I don't need to put any of my positivity onto their negative ass selves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I'm not about it.
You feel
So,
that,
yeah, I mean,
you feel that kind of changed as tattooing exploded again? Like before, it was like people that semi was a part of it, or at least were part of subcultures or whatever, where like tattooing was a part of the thing, and all of a sudden you would have some weird guy just come in from the street. Oh, I think I'm gonna get a tattoo, and that created a situation where a lot of more weirdos started coming in.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get all the weirdos without a doubt. I mean, we're a truck stop for the weirdos without a doubt. You know, everybody wants to come in and get a piece of, or a piece from, or just, you know, have that moment with, and you know, you just can't make everybody happy or give everybody what they want. You know, you just do your best at, and definitely, you know, how people come at you definitely plays a big part in it. You know, some people, yeah, you know, I can be busy as hell, and I'll make sure I make that moment because they've just come at me in the right way with the right thing, or, you know, with the right manner. But then again, there's other people where I can have all the time in the world, and I'm not going to give them a piece of it. You know, they just come with that, you know. Again, you know, human beings are just, they're just strange creatures. You know?
Yes.
And, you know, hey, we're all animals. So, you know, talk about going on instinct and all that. And, you know, like, hey, we're animals, man. You know, you come at me and some, you know, wolf ends up in the sheep's fucking den. You know, it's not going to be a good thing. Or the sheep ends up in the wolf's den. It's not going to be good. So try to avoid those situations or make the best of.
Yep. Great. Well, Darren, that was an awesome talk, man.
Always good.
Really appreciate you coming out and sharing some stories that, you know, that you probably never spoke or to many people.
Yeah, you know, again, you got those certain people you can talk about, and, you know, they can understand, and there's some other people that'll just never get it.
Yeah, yeah. That was very cool of you to do this, man. I really appreciate it. Klaus and I loved it.
Well, it was awesome being able to share that with you guys. I mean, honestly, it's great that you know, you're giving people the opportunity to share these stories, because again, you know, like I said, some people just, man, you'll never tell anybody about it.
Yep.
You know,
I mean, you know, like we said before on our show, a lot of our guests, you know, have these types of things or experiences or things that happen, and you know, they've kept a lot of that to themselves until they felt comfortable speaking with Klaus and I on the show, in like a very level-headed atmosphere where we're not trying to sensationalize anything. You know, it's just talk, and things come out. A lot of people were like, I can't even believe it after the show. That I can't even believe I've said those words and told this story. I haven't thought of that since I was 8 years old or 12 years old. You know, and they've shared these things, and it's really always a pleasure to have someone do that. You know, and
I hope we're the opposite of sensationalizing.
Yeah, we definitely
yeah.
No, I think you guys are just giving people the opportunity, you know, to just share that story, which is great. You know, it's kind of cool to talk about it. You know, and to know that there's other people that have had these experiences. You know, and not trying to sensationalize it in any way. Just like, wow, man, that was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we try to uncover as many stories as we can with people that we know. Never fully realizing true answers, because I don't know if we'll ever get true answers, but it's always great to hear people from everywhere sharing these things, and, you know, so many similarities across the board. You know, it has to connect somehow and somewhere.
I think so. I mean, there's different, you know, I think there's definitely different planes of existence. You know, people talk about being enlightened, or, you know, even any of that. Like, yeah, there's definitely you know what, they say we're only using X amount of percentage of our brain. You know, there's definitely more to it all.
Right. Well, I wish you the best of luck with all your endeavors coming up. I'll be seeing you soon when you're back up in the Northeast.
Definitely.
Thanks so much for talking with us today. Love
Darren,
you, man.
Darren, thank you so much.
No, thank you guys so much. This is great, and I wish you guys all the luck with it. I think it's awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Happy I could be a part of it.
We are too, man. So this is the Stockbury Dark signing off. We will be seeing you soon.